on this week's CEO Live. And this week, we're going to be speaking with Jené Luciani. So just waiting for Jené to join. There she is.
Wait. Is this good? Here.
Hi, Jené.
Hi.
Hey.
I mean, I've done Instagram Lives, but I've never joined someone else's. So.
Oh, awesome. You rotate yourself. Rotate.
All right.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, hold on. Doesn't want to stay like this. I have my little tripod here that I do my videos on. Usually it's horizontal, like when you're making a video. So that's how it's used to being. So for some reason it doesn't want to go this way. Let me see if I can get it to stay. I don't know. I might be crooked.
Oh, I think it looks fine.
It's moving. I don't know. It might not. Let me see. It might not stay. Yeah, it's moving. It won't stay. I
saw your little setup on your little home office studio.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
I know. And of course, my 4-year-old got a hold of it, and it won't. And he was playing with the tripod, and he dropped it on the ground, and like a piece broke off of it.
Oh.
So yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna stay like this. It's gonna want to go flip. Is it too annoying if I'm flipped over? I don't know.
That's good.
This is good?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, but you know what? When the comments pop up, we'll still be able to see. But you know what? That's great.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad we could do this.
Yes.
How is the weather there? We got some kind of crazy storms.
We got really crazy storms too. And crazy wind. Like it sounded like an elephant was running through the house last night. Yeah. So Pat springs up like there's an intruder in the house or something, and it was like we have no idea what it was. It was something from the wind. But it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well, let's jump right in. So I was just doing, I think before you joined, just this week's episode of CEO Live is with Jené Luciani, and I'm just really excited to have her on. She's an author, lifestyle expert, QVC ambassador, brand ambassador, just has an amazing story. So I'm just really glad to have you on. Thank you for joining this week.
Yes.
So we'll just do, maybe 30, 45 minutes, and we'll talk about your career. Obviously there's a written interview on Jené on she'sherownCEO.com. So whatever we don't cover here, just, be sure to check her out there as well. But we'll talk about your career and then maybe get into, just kind of current events, what's going on, how your work style is morphed or changed or.
Yep.
And then, we can just sprinkle in, leadership perspectives, things you've learned along the way in your career, how you lead, provide, and create, just how you've grown as an entrepreneur and a media expert. So,
Sure.
We'll just start with your bio and, how you got started today to get to where you are today.
Oh, gosh. It's like 20-something years worth of information. And it's definitely a unique journey than anyone else that I really know. I started in TV news as an intern at an NBC affiliate right out of college. And I really wanted to go into something with broadcasting, but I wasn't sure. And I loved performing. I was always singing and dancing and modeling as a kid. And I just loved being in front of the camera. And so I started as an intern I went to do this internship and, I really loved it. And I got hired as a full-time producer right out of the gate, which more basically because my parents told me that I wouldn't have a place to live if I didn't get a job out of it. So that was enough motivation right there, being homeless. They were like, yeah, your goal is a full-time job, like right out of this, because our door is shut now. Not sure if they really meant that or not, but whatever. It motivated me, and I did. I got a job, and I was kind of thrown right into the fire, learned how to write television news and how to produce a newscast and all that stuff that I needed to know without having really learned that in school. And a couple of major news events happened within a short amount of time. 9/11 happened. And I was like 22 years old, sent down there to field produce at Ground Zero. And the shuttle, I think it was the Columbia. I know my mom brain is taking over. Disaster happened. The elections, like all this stuff that I was covering. And I really loved the excitement of television, but I'm just like a happy person, and I really truly like helping people. I always like giving advice. I was always like that go-to person, and I was like, okay, this is not really me. Like, this makes me feel like it's depressing, and everything's so sad. The news is always like, so grim. And so I was trying to figure out a way that I could kind of shift out of that, but still keep doing what I was doing. And my mom, of course, the whole time was always like, you should be writing. You need to be writing more. And, you're like, that was something that was always natural to me, too. I was always reading and an avid reader as a kid and always writing. So I ended up moving to New York about 4 years after that first job. And I stayed in local news just to kind of get my foot in the door in the market. And then I had a friend from college who worked for a fashion PR broadcast production company. And she was like, I'm going to be moving on to something else. My job's going to be open. Why don't you apply for it? So I did, and I got the job. And through that, I learned this whole other aspect of the business, like the fact that you could promote brands and you could, really help companies get publicity in this, way that you're delivering it as news or in a newscast, and it's lifestyle content and it's fashion and it's stuff that women want to see. And so it was really neat kind of learning that aspect. And then during that time, I started writing for magazines, just kind of pitching stories and stuff and just seeing if I could kind of switch to some print writing, which I had never done before either, other than like in college. And I came across this local magazine in Westchester County, New York called The Wag. And it was a really popular magazine where I lived. And I was like flipping through it one day, and they always had local celebrities on the cover. A lot of people lived in Westchester County, Rob Thomas and Chevy Chase and, all these famous people. So I was flipping through and I saw that they had like Lord & Taylor and Bloomingdale's and all these big kind of fashion department stores, but they didn't have any fashion content. So I set up a meeting with the editor, and she said, okay, I'll have you write an article or two and we'll see if you are good at it. And one article led to me writing my own monthly fashion column. And then they made me their fashion editor, the very first one. And I was hosting all these events and at all these stores, and kind of brought me to like a whole other level of my career. And I was loving that. And that's where I got the idea for the bra book. I was assigned an article on bras and foundation garments and how to find the right one. And I started doing all this research, and I was like, there's all these women out there that are craving this information. Like, how do they get the right fit? Where do they go? Like, who can give them advice? And there wasn't really any resource for them other than the stores, these like, in my experience, these specialty shops that were selling like $100 to $200 bras and really trying to upsell them. And then you had like Victoria's Secret, at that time. And there wasn't anyone that truly wanted to help them. So I kind of thought, maybe this is something that I can help with. I struggled with that my whole life as well. And then getting into writing fashion and the styling aspect of things, I realized how important bras were. And I thought this could be something really cool. So I said to my editor at the time, someone really should write a book on bras. And she goes, you should do it. I love it. It's a great idea. You should do it. So I'm like, okay. So I kind of started the whole process. I got the outline from her on how to write a nonfiction book proposal. I pitched it out to some agents. I got rejected. Then I got one that didn't say no, but didn't say yes. And we went back and forth for almost a year. And then they finally signed me and they agreed to do the project. And they actually came up with the idea to reach out to a bra company and get a bra company to agree to be on board and private label the book. So that's kind of how that all came about. And I was able to get in touch with the CEO of Fashion Forums, who I had met at a press event and who already knew me. And we had a mutual connection. A family friend of mine who's a bra designer was working for her at that time. And so she kind of made a phone call to her too, and we made it happen. And then Bella Books offered a book deal. And I guess the rest is kind of history from there, so to speak. It's in second edition now, and I have another book that I wrote with them as well. And during that time, I was pitching myself to go on camera as a fashion expert, because I said, this is something that kind of goes along with what I'm doing, so let me give it a try. And I was in the city at the time, and I was driving up here to Albany and doing the local stations here, and then that led to me sending my reel down to New York stations. So then I started doing like Fox 5 and different stations in New York. And right around the time my book was coming out, I really made it kind of my mission to get on the Today Show. That was always my dream. And I was about to have a baby, my daughter, at the same time. So here I was, my pub date was December, my due date was September, and I don't know how it all was going to work out, but somehow it did. And that following July, I ended up getting booked on the Today Show, and I was a regular on the Hoda and Kathy Lee hour and on the 9 a.m. hour, and I did some long form stuff actually for the weekend show for about 8 years, pretty steadily. Yep. And then, calling and I don't know, you can probably name any of the talk shows that ran during the last 10 years. And I've gone on with either bra or fashion or beauty advice. And it was a great run. That kind of has changed for me a little bit lately. Now that the past 2 years I've been working on QVC for Soma.
Right.
So, and so that's been really, really great, because I've been able to bring my bra expertise to a different platform, but then also offer some great solutions and products for women that they may not have known about before.
Wow.
I know. I feel like I left some stuff out too, but in a nutshell.
It just sounds like, a lot of people in the audience, or people that are consumers of success-oriented stories or information, they kind of look at someone like you and go, wow, how did she do it? And
yeah, yep.
My advice is always, you really have to take the time to reverse engineer. It's not like, oh, this just happened. It sounds to me like you had, a firm grounding in journalism, and then you saw opportunities open up and you maximized them. It wasn't like, oh, let me try to, get into something I have no grounding in whatsoever. You actually, had done your homework, so to speak, and had built a foundation. And then,
that's true. And then created opportunities wherever I could. I mean, with me, I always just get kind of like an idea in my head, and then I have to do it. Like, I can't let it go.
Right.
It's like a blessing and a curse.
But that's one of the, foundations of being an entrepreneur. It's, that's another thing people talk about is like, oh, well, I want to have my own business. I want to be my own boss. But they don't really take the time to realize that, you're really truly self-managed. I mean, you're creating something that, you're not necessarily having a boss on a day-to-day basis saying, hey, do these 5 things. You're actually having to ideate. You're having to create. You're having to actually make it happen. So, that's all in your story. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I know. Yeah. I love what I do, and I've always felt like if it was getting like whatever I was doing was kind of not giving me that passion anymore, then I felt like it was either time to like move on or try something different. And certain things in life kind of forced me to go back to different things that I forgot that I love to do. Like now I think given the state that we're in the world right now, in this strange alternate universe that we're living in, I can kind of go back to a little more writing that I haven't necessarily had time to do because I'm traveling so much. The QVC schedule honestly was grueling. And I think even given that it required travel too, like it would just take up a lot of time and it was exhausting, and then by the time I would come home to 4 children and a household and 2 dogs and everything else to manage here, it just was like there wasn't a time for me to sit down and write, so I managed to get 3 books under my belt. And then on a plane to Chicago one day, I wrote a children's book about a girl getting her first bra. And I had it illustrated. And I was, I've been working with a retail partner on trying to get that out because I think in sort of like the bra book, it would make sense to have it in a bra sort of store. But then, this all happened. So I'm going to put it up on Amazon and see what happens with it. So at least, because, I learned through doing all these events and talking to all these women and men too, there's a lot of single dads out there. And that was, and having, my own daughters starting to wear a bra and everything, that was something that I would get asked constantly, like, I don't know how to broach this topic and I don't know what to do. And it's just, a hard thing to wrap your brain around. So I thought, okay, maybe, that's something that I need to kind of add here too. And I wanted to do it in a really fun and colorful and engaging way that the girl would appreciate as well as the parent. So, so this has kind of forced me to do some of these things that I've been wanting to do, but necessarily haven't had time.
And it sounds like also you were kind of on the cutting edge of this makeover transformation, bringing live models out on set, like, what not to wear. And then I saw a clip when I was doing just some background on, looking at some of your clips, you had gone on Wendy Williams and actually had live models come out. And, there was a point in time where that didn't really happen. And then it sounds like you were like on the forefront of that. So that's tremendous.
Yeah. Especially with the bra makeovers, Susan Netherow, who was Oprah's person who owned Intimacy, like she was doing them, but I didn't like that. Obviously she's a businesswoman, and I don't fault her for that, but it was these really super expensive bras that she would show and kind of make women feel like they needed that. And I'm here like, well, what if you can't afford that, or what if you don't have access to the store in New York City? What if you live in, Alabama or Oklahoma? Like, how are you getting what you need, and to make yourself look and feel your best? So I kind of came in as that, like your breast friend, I like to say, like your girl next door, go-to girl. Like, I just want to help you. This is what I love to do. I love talking to women. I love meeting women, and I love, helping them in some way. And so when we were doing those segments, it was great. Like, I actually had a lot of people that I knew were given bra makeovers on national TV. My mom was one of them. And even if you Google my name and it comes up on the front page of like MSN.com, it's my mom's before and after in her bra makeover. I would grab all these people that were around me and friends and family and stuff and say, hey, come do a TV segment with me. And we had a really good run of them for a while. Like, women were really, the stations were loving them. The talk shows were loving them. They were all calling. We were doing a ton of them. And then things kind of shifted a little bit, which I thought, I think a lot of it was the body positivity movement. And then all of a sudden it became that it was like taboo to talk about a woman's body in that way or something. And I was like, okay, I'm all for body positivity. And that was really what my message was in every segment that I did, was feel good about yourself. And here's how,
right.
So of course that was what I was about. But all of a sudden it was like not cool to, focus on our body and specific body parts we didn't like. So I sort of noticed that started to kind of fizzle out.
Right.
Which was interesting.
Even QVC, like I've watched and shopped on QVC for quite a long time. And
I know, I love it. It's great.
I know, I love QVC, and HSN too. But I've noticed, like with the live, like there was a long period of time, I don't remember even up until maybe a few years ago, where they, you know, they don't hang the camera shot on the live model very often, but they never, I mean, they always had the mannequin, like what you've got there. And I noticed a transition in the last few years with that. So I'm sure you know all of that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I'm like all about empowering women. And to me, it was very empowering for them to put themselves out there in the effort to helping all of the other women out there. You know, it was very empowering. It was very inspirational, you know, like the fact that my 60-something-year-old mom could get on national TV and be like, look, I look thinner, I look younger, I'm standing up straighter, and I feel better. My straps aren't digging into my shoulders. You know, I thought that was like amazing. So I've been sitting here the past 2 years or so, just kind of biding my time and waiting for it to come back around, because I feel like everything's cyclical and it's starting to come back around. And I noticed that the magazines are calling again, and they want to do shapewear stories and they want to do bra stories. So I'm like, okay, it's okay to say you want to look a little slimmer in your dress. Like there's nothing wrong, like with going out and getting a pair of shapewear, you know, or a pair of Spanx or whatever, you know, brand you prefer. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to do whatever you need to do to feel and look your best. And it's not like the makeup industry has gone out of business or anything. I mean, it's not like we're not doing skincare. It's not like we're not doing our hair. To me, this is that same type of thing. And really, like a bra, having a bad bra can literally ruin your entire day. And I think like any woman could relate to that statement. So I just hold steady with, you know, what I feel. I've had people say to me like, oh, maybe you should expand your horizons and maybe you shouldn't talk about the bra stuff anymore. And I'm like, but this is what I'm here to do. So if it's not in style right now or for a period of time, I'm okay with that because I know that this is what I'm here to do. So
talk a little bit about, or a lot about, your personal brand as the bra expert, and then how that correlates with you representing other brands. So when you were, you know, back when you started as a fashion journalist and you had that initial inspiration, did you think I'm going to be the bra expert, or did that kind of evolve? And then from there, did So say, hey, we want the bra expert on our team? So kind of walk through that.
Yeah, so it definitely evolved. I got the idea for the bra book, and something inside me just told me that it had to be done, right? So even through all the rejection and, you know, even family members that were really negative, like, oh, you're going to write a book on bras, and how are you going to make any money doing that and all this stuff? And I would just say, just trust me. Like, I know that this has to be out there. I know that this, like, I just felt it. I just felt that this was something that had to be done. So I just kind of stuck with it. And then, you know, getting booked on TV shows as the author of the bra book and, you know, kind of learning as I go. I feel like I'm still learning. There's still a lot of things I don't know. Like I'm learning about technical, like fabrics and, you know, construction. And there's still things because I was always more about fit and what's flattering, style you should pick for your body shape and that sort of thing. So that all evolved. And after, you know, writing the book on bras and then, you know, doing the national TV circuit for some time, people started coining all these terms for me. Like I was referred to as the brapreneur. I've been referred to as the first bra celebrity because I did a show on Bravo where I wore a dress made out of 200 bras, and I ended up in Star Magazine, OK Magazine, Us Weekly, which at the time, you know, this was 2011. Those magazines were like the be all end all. That wasn't like blogs like there is now. So I was a bra celebrity, and then Chris March, who was the star of that show, a fashion designer from Project Runway, coined me as the Brostrosity. And then, I basically said, well, it feels really weird to refer to yourself as a guru of any sort, So I said, well, I'm the bra expert. I would say I'm the bra lady, or I'm the bra chick, or I'm the bra expert, I'm your breast friend. So that's kind of how my brand evolved. And I've definitely refined it over the years. And I always make sure that people know that I'm not selling them. I don't own a bra shop. So my job is not really to sell you a bra. I'm just here to help. So that's where it became interesting when I started working with Soma, which was a brand that I, for years, would work with for my bra makeovers. And so I was really familiar with what they did, and really, really happy with the way that they were coming up with great solutions for women, the way that the price points were affordable, the way that they catered to every woman and not, like their competitor who was sort of catering to only a specific type of woman or young girl. So I really, really liked their brand, and I felt like this is a brand I can really stand behind. But it was definitely challenging going to the QVC format and knowing that, of course, you're there to sell bras. That is your job.
Right.
But, and Soma felt very strongly too that the reason why they wanted me as the face of their brand, they wanted someone that was knowledgeable and an expert and objective. They didn't want a hard selling, salesperson either. They wanted their customers to be educated. And that was exactly how I felt. So I'm like, okay, this is perfect. This is the perfect job. But then when you actually get there, you do have that pressure to make the sales goals, all that sort of thing, which is interesting. So I would always, bring it back to anytime I would start to feel stressed about that or anything, I would bring it back to, my mission really is to help women. And I'm still doing that. I'm still educating them. I'm still helping them. I'm not, selling anything that I don't stand behind. And, so it was challenging a little bit in the beginning, but, and as I've gotten more and more hours on the air sort of there, I've really been able to stretch my wings. I've done, live bra fittings on models. I've really given a lot of tips and advice, and continuing to do that, with different brands and especially Soma. And, what's great is sometimes I'll produce content for their social media, and I'm like, okay, send me some bras. I'll talk about them. Like the one that I'm wearing right now, for example, is my favorite work from home, around the house bra. Like, no, we don't want you even promoting the products. We want you to tell our customers why the 3 reasons, I just did one that they're about to release, which is the 3 reasons that you should be wearing a bra while you're in quarantine, or however you want to call it. And so they were like, no, we just want you talking about that. We don't want, it's not about the sell. It's about educating and informing women.
That's amazing. I mean, that's, so pure and, really coming from the right place to build credibility and, with your audience. So had they approached you about having your own line within Soma?
That's a great idea. I'll have to send this link to them. Hint, hint. I would love that. I mean, I definitely have some ideas. I feel like, they have so many great bras that they cover a lot of the solutions, but I also have some ideas too. Based on just working with I don't know how many hundreds, I say hundreds, maybe more women over the years now that I've been doing this over the last 13 or 14 years. So yeah, that would be great. I mean, I'm all for expanding, expanding the brand and whatever it really is going to bring solutions to women is what I'm kind of stand behind.
Right. So you have 2 editions of the bra book. You have a children's book And then there's another but talk about that.
So a few years back, I became friendly with Jacqueline Larita, who was on the New Jersey Housewives at the time. Just through a mutual friend, I met her and we kind of hit it off. And my daughter was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder at the age of 4. And the recommendations for that were very similar to the autism recommendations. So Jack would call me and she would give me advice on, she was very vocal with her son and, caring for her son and raising him with autism. And she would call me and say, like, try this diet or, just give me advice. And so we became friends. And she, something that you didn't really see on the show is she's a cosmetologist for 20 something years. And her passion really is makeup and beauty. And so she was saying, like, I would love to, like, get more of my beauty expertise out there. And, I said, well, why don't we write a book that is geared towards busy moms, like women who don't have a lot of time for themselves. And, all these really great, not only quick tips and advice, but also some other kind of more technical stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know about, your beauty regimen, your hair, your skin. And then we also talked about, like, how to get in meditation for a few minutes a day. I mean, everything was oriented towards, like, what you can do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the day. So how to meditate, how to utilize the law of attraction, how to get in a quick fitness routine while you're, like, around the house. Actually, a lot of great stuff now that I think about it that would really be for women now that are in the situation where they're home. I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, this is all stuff that you can do at home. And the book is called Get It, A Beauty, Style, and Wellness Guide to Getting Your It Together. So, and that came out in 2016. And then the second edition of the Bra book came out, and that was also through Ben Bella Books in Texas. And that was a neat journey too, just kind of getting the opportunity to collaborate with someone else and kind of have both of our perspectives. And again, all in the efforts to, help other women just like us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you see any crossover with some of your advice that can apply to men as well? Or is it primarily for women? I mean,
people ask me, I know. People ask me all the time, like, do you do stuff for men? And I'm like, not really. I mean, not that I'm opposed to helping men, but it's just not my thing. It's just not my passion. So, yes, in the past, I've kind of dabbled in some men's style segments, or when I've done a swimwear segment, I've done couples, for the Today Show. So we've had, like, men and women, but it's really not my thing. I really like helping women. Really, that's my passion.
Right. Is there advice in your Get Your It Together book that men could use, or is it more women-centric with, like, managing children and?
Yeah, it's time management and stuff. It's really all for women. I don't know if, I mean, the funny question that men always ask me about the bra book is, are there pictures? And then they want to buy a copy. One of my very good friends, her dad, he passed away several years ago, but he used to order copies of the bra book and then give them to all the waitresses at the diners that he would, like, frequent, because he was retired and he would just, like, go sit at the diner. So he would be like, hey, you got any copies in your trunk, and I'll buy them from you or whatever. Yeah. So I get a kick out of the men, and then they would say, oh, what about the man's ear, from Seinfeld or whatever, like stuff like that. But other than, but I don't really see myself shifting gears towards, anything with men. I mean, I love guys and I appreciate guys and everything like that, but I don't know. It's not my thing.
How do you manage, we'll talk about a little bit what's going on with you now, just like in our lockdown, quarantine, stay-at-home mode. Yeah. And obviously you're not traveling, but beyond that, and your home office setup, your home studio setup, but what has changed with regard to your schedule or kind of what you're allowed to do now that you couldn't before, or vice versa?
My schedule has completely changed. I mean, my schedule before was sometimes flying back and forth to QVC in one day, doing an airing and then coming back home and, taking care of, feeding the kids dinner, helping Pat like manage the household and then like getting on a plane the next day and going back. And I didn't really ever have like, I mean, we would have slow periods where I wasn't going there as frequently, but it still wasn't like as much of a breather because the nature of the way they schedule you with like 2 to 3 days notice typically. And then you go and you really don't say no. Unless it's a date that you had already said. Obviously, if you have a commitment, you can put that down and they won't book you, but they plan 24 hours a day of live programming and they have 3 channels. So they're kind of just always scheduling you. So I never really had a chance to step back from that. So, and I loved doing it. Like, it wasn't like I was like, I have to go back there, I really enjoyed it. But, kind of having it out a little bit, it's like, wow, I really was like running myself ragged and running around like a crazy person at times, but I really didn't know any other way. I've kind of always been that way. So now I'm just obviously at home. I'm helping out where I can, sometimes QVC is still operating. And they're still selling and their hosts are still there and they still have the live models and everything. They just don't have the guests coming. So I've been, helping prep the hosts, make sure that they know, the best way to kind of talk about it because, they're amazing, but they're not bra experts. And I think unlike other products that you can maybe sell on there, you really need to sort of know bras, and kind of how they work and understand how they work the way they do. So I've been trying to prep the hosts and just kind of help out where I can. It's really sad to see like the airing and not be there. So I've been doing that. I've been, just trying to do a little more writing and kind of really think about what it is that's really important to me. So it's definitely given me a time to reflect. But, we're also homeschooling 3 out of 4 children right now. So it's tough to squeeze in that work too, what little bit that I can or am able to do here and there. It's a little tough to do. And then I help out, with some other brands, doing some PR like for Skinnies. I help her out with PR and marketing. And so just kind of doing what I can. I would say, I guess, I was always kind of mobile, working on my phone and stuff like that. So not much has changed there. And then I built this little kind of setup in my dining room. So if I do want to produce a video for social media, I can, it definitely will give me an opportunity to focus a little more on my own social media. I think that's kind of what, it has done for everybody, which obviously is so important for your brand nowadays and talking to your followers and helping them out. So I'm trying to think of ways that I can, give them some great advice during this time. Just trying to really think of ways to go with the flow of what's happening, really.
What has been in your career, like the greatest challenge? Has it been, having your idea and trying to convince people in your circle that it was viable, or was it just doing the diligence, working the grind, working late hours? Was it more like the physicality of building your success where you are today, or was it more of the kind of mental grit, faith, kind of that aspect?
I would say a little bit of everything that you mentioned. It definitely takes a lot of faith. I always go with my gut. If it doesn't feel right in my gut, then that's a problem. So I always try to go with my gut and my heart, I guess you could say. And not as much as what, I'm not a can't person. I very much believe in the law of attraction. I believe in, manifesting certain things, but I also believe that certain things are meant to happen regardless of what you want. So,
Right.
I feel like a lot of like fate kind of was involved in my journey too. Like the fact that, my agent came up with this idea for a corporate partnership with a bra company. And I had already happened to meet the CEO of this company, who I just said to her, hey, I have an idea. I was sitting at a table with her and Melissa Rivers, Joan Rivers' daughter, at this event too. And they both were like, oh my God, we love the idea of a bra book. That's so cool. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to make it happen. I wrote a proposal, I'm trying to sell it. And they said, oh, we love it. And then after that, my agent came up with the idea. And then it turns out that I had this mutual friend who's a bra designer who worked for that company. So it was like, that happened the way it was meant to happen. I can't imagine that happening any other way. And so as I have disappointments in my career, where like I'm not getting booked as much as I used to, or my career is changing, I try to always tell myself like, everything is kind of going the way that it's meant to. And taking me to a different, part of maybe that I wouldn't have thought of before. Like even all that's going on right now probably has some sort of good in there with, in regards to career and everything. So, so I'm trying to kind of listen and see what the universe is trying to tell me, in that aspect. And then, faith, like you said, a lot of, prayer and manifesting. And then not listening to the naysayers, that's a big part of it. Because it was really unfortunate. I had some close family members that were really, really negative, but then I also had close family members that were really positive about it.
Right.
So I was able, like I would say to the ones that were the naysayers, like, you just wait. Like, this is going to be something really, really good, and I'm going to make a living out of it. Mm-hmm. And that was what I was determined to do. So, yeah.
Jennifer's on. I just wanted to say hi to Jennifer. She said hi.
Hi.
Did anybody in your family actually try to hold you in your journalism career, or just kind of encourage you to say, hey, keep your steady 9 to 5 on the side while you're pursuing this? Or did you go like make the full leap in to kind of exploring your brand building, your book writing?
I made the full leap. I don't think that there was anyone who really discouraged me from doing that. I mean, at that time, my now ex-husband, had a good steady job and we had an income coming in. So I was able to kind of explore that a little bit. And it wasn't so detrimental that my salary, not go away. Right. But I was always hustling like for more work, when I was focusing on the writing and trying to get the bra book off the ground and, driving all over the place doing TV segments, I would still pick up like 3 days a week producing, at that company that I worked with previously. So I did have that steady. And then I worked for a PR firm, like for a little while on the side. I mean, I always was able to kind of source out, some more work for myself. And I do have a pretty, well-rounded background. So I could kind of do a lot of different things, which right. is a blessing also.
Talk a little bit about, so we talk about lead, provide, and create. And you had this amazing answer about, leading yourself, helping your children and, being grounded in yourself first. Talk a little bit about the story with your colleague that was in the Salvation Army, and you developed a whole kind of giving back. Yeah, talk about that.
Something that I've done a lot of throughout is a lot of charity events. So, I mean, the way that I can kind of help out is to lend my voice, so I would MC like 5 or 6 events a year. Where whoever would ask me, and I would go back year after year and MC these events like charity fashion shows and that sort of thing. And I really, really love doing that. And And I have a friend who used to work for the Salvation Army. And one year we came up with the idea to do blessings bags for women in need. So I just reached out to the companies that I worked with at that time. I know Land's End sent me these great canvas bags. And then I would get like, a company to donate like feminine hygiene products or whatever. And we put these together. And I felt great doing that, but I felt like I could do more. So the following year, like I said, I come up with these crazy ideas and I just have to like make them happen. So I was thinking about, she said something to me about how the women that come to the Salvation Army, to their soup kitchen, she would say, these women don't have money to put food on the table. So like, how are they taking care of themselves? And I said, you know what, like, I don't know very many women that don't need to wear a bra. And like, what are these women doing for them? Like, how are they, because not wearing a bra or not wearing the right bra can really have negative impact, not just on the way you look, but on the way you feel. It could cause back pain, neck strain, all sorts of things, especially for larger busted women. So I was like, what are these women doing? Because they're certainly not, spending $60 or $70 on a bra. They have to, they have other obligations that are more important. So I said to her, what if we got all these women together and I gave them bra fittings, and then I got a bra company to donate bras, and they could each walk away with a bra. And she was like, oh my gosh, I love it. So we actually did this in one day at 2 different Salvation Armies. So I did one in the morning and one in the afternoon. My car broke down in between and I had to be towed off the thruway, but I still made it to the second one. And I got a bra company out in California to donate the bras for me. And I fit, I think, 60 women that day or more. Yep. So I was like doing bra fitting after bra fitting after bra fitting. And then they were really grateful because they walked away with a bra. And it was pretty amazing. I would definitely love to do more stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's not just a giveaway story. I mean, you are really promoting self-empowerment for these women that may have had other challenges in their lives, and their self-esteem probably just increased 10x. So
yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. It was great. It was really rewarding. And my friend that worked at the Salvation Army, she has a really great sense of humor, and she had this like blow up dinosaur, I guess, that would like, right. Some of their events, they would have this guy in this like blow up dinosaur suit. And so she made him made the dinosaur like a bra, a giant bra. And she had me like photo op, like putting the bra on the dinosaur. I mean, and the women loved, like the people there loved it. And we made it fun. Yeah. We made it really fun for them. And that's how I feel too. Like, the bra experience should be like fun and rewarding. It shouldn't be like depressing and like a chore. Yeah. And like, it should be like going to the spa and getting a massage. Like, you are really doing something really, really good for yourself, So my whole thing was, how do I like shift women's attitudes about that? Because I noticed that I would do an event, I would do a book signing in like the bra department at Bloomingdale's. I was in the one in Manhattan and the one in Westchester. And I noticed that like women would like run by me with their head down. Like, they just wanted no part of, they would grab whatever off the rack and go up to the register. And like, I could tell that they were just miserable. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a big lofty goal to like shift women's perceptions on this whole topic. But like, I feel like I can kind of chip away at it maybe. So like going out there and being really positive about it and upbeat, like, hey, you can stand up straighter and you can, and you can have something that's really comfortable and feels really great and doesn't have to feel like a torture device that you want to rip off at the end of the day and fling across the room. It doesn't have to be that way. I have bras, like one of the bras that I tend to wear all the time. I have it in like a bunch of different colors. I fall asleep in it. I forget that I'm even wearing it, and I'm a 34 double D. So it's like, it's even, you can find something that's right for you that you don't like hate at the end of the day.
Right. Oh my gosh, Jené, so much to cover. And this is just an amazing story you have. Let's wrap with Any final thoughts you have for people that have aspirations for success in their lives? Like, what would you recommend? Either, obviously to read your books, but
sure, that'd be great.
like thoughts or guiding principles, or just parting words that you want to leave with.
I mean, for me, success is if you really have to feel passionate about and love what you do. Especially when you're, going to something where you're branding yourself as an expert, or you're going, I go on air as myself, right? So if I wasn't authentic and if I was phony, that would come across. If I didn't really love what I did, and really feel passionate about what I do, then that would come across. And I would fail at it, quite frankly. So I think the best way to succeed is to really make sure that you're doing something that you really feel passionate about. And I know a lot of people feel like they're stuck in something that they don't like doing, or maybe they're just doing it for the money. But if you think creatively, you can maybe expand your horizons and still sort of stay in that same field, but maybe not be so miserable. I mean, that was kind of how I felt about news. Like, I was like, okay, how can I keep working in TV and have this steady paycheck, but maybe cover topics that are a little more of interest to me? And that's kind of like the way. So you have to really in there. So you really have to get creative and really think, how to make it fulfilling for you. And I think if you're fulfilled in what you're doing, you really have great intent. Like, my intention was always like helping people. I wasn't really necessarily, I was thinking, of course, I want to make a living at this, but I wasn't thinking about the money necessarily. So I think, if the intentions are there and the passion is there, and you get, creative and think a little bit outside of the box, there's really nothing that you can't do. And I feel like I'm proof of that. So
no, that's amazing. I think a lot of people think, well, it's just going to appear or it's going to be handed to me. And it's like, no, you have to cobble together, make a list of your skill sets, and also know what you're not good at. That's another piece of the equation is, admitting to yourself, having that self-awareness that, if someone's not good in accounting, they probably shouldn't try to file their own tax return, or, if they have a process-oriented perspective, they shouldn't try to build, their own website,
Right. That's when it's important to, and that's when it's important to know to that's when it's important to know, like, when you need to utilize help from other people, I have a web person who updates and everything for me, because that is not my thing. And I have a video editor that I work with, and she's amazing, because she's better at that. Like, I know the end result will be better than what I do. I can get up here and talk, for hours and hours, and she will edit it together and make it look amazing. So that's why it's important to kind of know when you need team members and partners and people like that are important too along your journey.
That's amazing, Jené. And thank you again. Where can people find you? On social media, website, your book, on Amazon?
Yeah, all over. On Instagram, I'm at Jené on TV and at the Bra Expert. And then on Facebook, you can find me at Jené Luciani and at the Bra Expert. I have a YouTube channel that, if you go to my website, JenéLuciani.com, that'll link to that. Twitter, everywhere, I guess. Pretty easy to find, I think. And I always, if you ever have any bra questions, ladies out there, I love answering them. You can email me, you can write to me on social media. Happy to help you in any way possible.
Right. And as I mentioned earlier in this CEO Live interview, there's a written portion to this interview, and it can be found on she'sherown.ceo.com. So if you want a little bit more, or a little bit different take on what we talked about here live, it's on there, and it's the top entry right now, the top blog. I'll also download this video and post it on YouTube and put all the links on there as well. So in case you didn't catch all that. I'll post it as well. But anyway, I think we're coming up to the end of the hour and they're going to kick us off. So Jené, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
It was great meeting you.
Yes.
This is a new, right.
The new way we're doing things. But anyway, thanks Jené. Thanks everybody online. And we'll see you next
Thank
week.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.